The forest was too quiet. Even the wind seemed afraid to move. Leora, the small human girl, ran through the tall glowing trees with trembling steps. Her breath shook as she looked behind her again and again. She had escaped from the smugglers only minutes ago, but she had no idea where she was now. Every shadow felt alive. Every sound made her heart jump. She stopped for a moment, trying not to cry. The forest floor was soft and cold, covered in strange blue moss that glowed under her shoes. Leora whispered for help, but her voice cracked. She was alone on this alien world, and she was only 9 years old. She wished someone could hear her. She wished someone would find her. Then she heard it. A deep, heavy step. Then another. Then many more. They came from the darkness between the trees, slow at first, then faster. Leora froze. Her hands shook as she backed away from the sound. The trees around her gently pulsed with blue light, as if warning her of danger. The first wolf appeared. It was huge, taller than any animal she had ever seen. Its fur shimmered with silver stripes that looked like sharp metal. Its tail was long and shaped like a blade, glowing at the edges. Its eyes were bright yellow, and they locked onto Leora with frightening focus. She gasped and stepped back. More wolves stepped out of the trees. 5, 7, 10 of them. They formed a wide circle around her, blocking every path of escape. Leora's knees weakened. She felt cold fear crawl up her spine. The wolves moved with slow, careful steps, each paw pressing softly into the moss, but the air around them felt dangerous. Leora tried to speak, but no words came out. She was too scared. The wolves lowered their bodies, ready to lunge. She closed her eyes for a moment and prayed they would not attack. But they did not pounce. They stayed still. Completely still. Their sharp ears twitched, and their eyes shifted to the ground at her feet. Leora opened her eyes again and followed their gaze. The moss under her boots flickered with sparks of pale white light. A soft hum rose from the earth, low and steady like a heartbeat forming beneath her. The wolves stepped back a little, confusion showing in their eyes. Their tails lowered. Leora didn't understand any of it. The humming grew stronger, and the ground warmed under her feet. Suddenly, a faint white line drew itself around her shoes, forming a glowing circle on the ground. The wolves reacted at once. They growled, not at her but at the circle forming beneath her. They stepped back farther, tails lifting as if preparing to defend themselves. Leora looked around in fear. "Please," she whispered. "I don't know what's happening." The white light beneath her brightened. The moss parted and lowered, revealing smooth stone beneath it. Strange symbols glowed on the stone surface, old and worn, as if they had been sleeping for a very long time. Leora felt the warm breeze rise from the circle and rush past her face. Her hair lifted in the soft wind. Something ancient was waking. The wolves stopped growling. They stared at her with wide eyes, the way humans stare when they see something impossible. Leora's fear mixed with confusion. Why were these dangerous wolves acting unsure? Why were they not attacking her? A sharp crack echoed through the forest. The trees around the clearing pulsed brighter as if reacting to the sound. Leora gasped and hugged herself tightly. The wolves all turned their heads toward the far side of the clearing. They sensed something else, something moving through the forest. A new set of footsteps echoed among the trees, softer than the wolves' steps, but fast and focused. Leora did not know who or what it was. She only knew it was coming closer. The wolves lifted their bodies again, but this time their stance looked protective, not hostile. They kept Leora in the center of the circle, but now their eyes faced outward toward the approaching sound. Leora's breathing grew faster. The white circle around her feet dimmed for a moment, then brightened again. She felt the stone under her warm like a small fire. She did not understand why it reacted to her. She had never seen alien symbols before. But she also had never seen animals behave like this. The footsteps stopped just outside the clearing. The forest went silent again. The wolves stood in perfect stillness, their tails lifted, waiting. Leora held her breath and looked toward the trees. For a long moment nothing happened. Then a shadow moved. A tall figure stepped into the clearing, holding a scanning device that blinked with blue light. His clothes were scratched and dirty, and his breathing was heavy as if he had been running for a long time. His eyes widened when he saw Leora. Was a human. A real human. His name was Rexton Vale, though Leora did not know it yet. She only saw a man with tired eyes and a look of pure shock when he spotted her standing inside a glowing circle of ancient light, surrounded by massive wolves. The wolves growled, warning him not to come closer. Rexton froze. He slowly raised his hands to show he meant no harm. Leora stared at him, feeling hope rise in her chest for the first time since she escaped. The ground hummed again. The symbols under her feet glowed brighter than before, and the trees lit up with the same light, spreading through their vines like veins waking from sleep. The wolves backed up another step. Rexton looked at the glowing floor with disbelief. Something old had awakened because of the little girl. Something the forest had been hiding. Leora did not move. She did not speak. She only stood there, trembling, while the man, the wolves, and the ancient forest all stared at her, as if she had become the center of something none of them understood. The suspense in the air felt heavy, like the whole world was holding its breath. And the forest waited for what would happen next. Rexton Vale did not dare move. The glowing circle around the little girl was bright enough to light the whole clearing, and the giant wolves around her looked ready to attack if he took even one wrong step. His heart pounded in his chest. He had spent 2 days tracking the smugglers who kidnapped a child, but he never imagined he would find her inside an ancient light with alien wolves acting like guards. Leora stared back at him with wide, frightened eyes. She looked tired, cold, and confused. Rexton wanted to rush to her, but the wolves kept him frozen in place. Their yellow eyes watched his every breath. Their blade-like tails lifted behind them, glowing faintly. They were clearly dangerous. One wrong move and he would not survive. Rexton slowly lowered his scanning device. The soft beeping stopped and the wolves lifted their heads a little, listening. He spoke softly, keeping his voice calm. He did not want to scare the girl or trigger the wolves. "It's okay," he said. "My name is Rexton. I'm here to help you." Leora did not answer. She hugged herself and looked down at the glowing stone under her feet. The warm light rose around her like a shield. The wolves seemed unsure of it too. They watched the symbols as if they recognized the ancient power but did not fully understand why it had appeared. Rexton took one slow step forward. All 10 wolves growled at once. He froze again. Leora gasped softly. The light under her feet flared brighter, shaking like a small pulse of energy. Rexton stopped thinking about himself and focused only on the girl. He needed to get her out of the forest. The smugglers were still somewhere out there. And now, something ancient was waking under the moss-covered ground. He tried again, speaking just loud enough for her to hear. "You're safe. I promise. But I need to come closer." Leora looked at the wolves. She did not need words to know what they were telling her. They were not attacking Rexton, but they did not trust him yet. She swallowed and whispered, "Please, don't hurt him." The wolves lifted their ears. Something in her voice made them pause. Rexton noticed that their aggressive stance softened just a little. It was enough for him to risk one more step. When he moved forward, the glowing circle around Leora shifted. The symbols on the stone expanded outward, forming faint white lines that reached the edge of the clearing. Rexton's scanner reacted again, even though he had turned it off. The device buzzed with low static, picking up strong energy in the air. The wolves backed away slightly as the lines expanded. Rexton stared at the ground. He understood immediately, this was technology. Very old. Not natural, not magic. Something artificial, hidden under the whole forest. Something reacting to a human child in a way he had never seen. "Why her?" Rexton whispered under his breath. The forest answered with a low rumble beneath the soil, as if something deep underground was slowly waking up after many years of silence. Leora felt the warm wind rise from the stone circle again. It lifted her hair gently. She stepped back in fear, but the light moved with her like it was protecting her. Suddenly the wolves shifted again. Their ears pointed toward the dark trees beyond the clearing. Their bodies stiffened. Their growls grew deeper, more urgent. They were no longer focused on Rexton. They sensed something else. Rexton felt the hairs on his arms rise. He lifted his scanner again and pointed it toward the forest edge. The device flickered with unstable signals. Something large was moving out there. Something heavier than a wolf. Something faster. The wolves formed a tighter circle around Leora, but this time they were protecting her. Rexton realized it at once. The wolves were not guarding the girl from him, they were guarding her from whatever was coming. A loud snapping sound echoed through the trees. The wolves raised their glowing tails high, ready to strike. Leora stepped backward, trembling as the light around her pulsed again. Rexton moved closer now without fear of the wolves. Something worse was coming, and he needed to stand between Leora and the danger. He whispered to her, "Stay behind me." Leora nodded and moved as close to him as the glowing circle allowed. The wolves did not stop Rexton now. They even shifted slightly to let him stand nearer to the girl. Their glowing eyes never left the darkness. A low hiss drifted from the trees. Not a wolf's hiss. Something thinner, sharper, colder. The smell of the air changed. It felt heavier, thicker, like cold smoke without smell. Rexton recognized it. His mind flashed to the data he studied years ago. A night reaper. A deadly predator from this planet. Fast enough to outrun wolves. Silent on its feet. Known for attacking anything that moved, including lethal wolves. The wolves growled louder. They spread out more, placing themselves between Leora and the danger. Rexton felt his stomach twist. If a night reaper was hunting them, then Leora's situation had become far worse than he thought. The glowing lines on the ground pulsed again. The forest lights flickered. The symbols under Leora's feet changed shape, forming new patterns as if reacting to the threat. Rexton scanned the patterns quickly. They looked like part of an ancient security system. Maybe this part of the forest used to be a protected zone long ago. Maybe humans triggered something that only reacted to their presence. A sudden movement flashed in the trees. A long dark shape darted between the trunks. The wolves snapped their jaws. One of them leaped forward, but the shadow vanished too fast. Leora grabbed Rexton's sleeve. "What is that?" she whispered. He kept his voice steady. "Something dangerous. But you're not alone. I'm here." The ground hummed again. The light around Leora grew higher, forming a faint dome of white glow. Rexton stared. It was protecting her. The structure recognized her. He took out a small energy tool from his belt. If the wolves in the forest were willing to let him protect the girl, he needed to be ready. The shadow in the trees moved again, faster this time. The wolves roared. The forest pulsed. The ancient ground awakened even more. And Rexton knew the real fight had not started yet. The dark shadow moved faster now, slipping between the trees with almost no sound. Rexton Vale's heart pounded in his chest. The wolves growled louder, their tails glowing brighter. They did not look at him or the girl, they only looked at the forest edge. Leora held onto his arm, small hands trembling. "What is it?" she whispered. Her voice shook. Rexton didn't answer. He watched carefully. The shadow was bigger than any animal he had ever seen. Its eyes glowed faint red, cutting through the darkness like small fire. Its body was long, thin, and sharp, almost like it was made to slip between the trees silently. The wolves circled tighter around Leora. Rexton realized something surprising. They were not there to attack her. Every movement, every glance they made was protective. The wolves were keeping her safe from the creature outside the clearing. "What are they?" Leora asked, her voice barely audible. "They're guarding you," Rexton said, his voice low. "I think they know something about you. Something I don't yet understand." The shadow moved closer, and a low hiss sounded through the clearing. The wolves bristled. One of them, smaller than the others but faster, leaped forward and growled fiercely. It stopped just a few feet away from the shadow's path. The creature seemed to notice the wolf and paused, as if deciding who or what to attack first. Rexton held his hand up to stop the wolves. "Don't attack yet. Let me see what it does." The shadow flicked its long body between the trees again, circling the clearing. Its red eyes locked onto Leora. She felt her chest tighten, fear washing over her. She looked at the wolves. They did not move away. They did not leave her. Rexton's mind raced. He remembered stories from old archives about alien predators called Night Reapers. They were hunters, creatures that hunted everything that moved, even massive wolves. They were smart and deadly, able to detect fear and weakness in their prey. "That thing is a Night Reaper," Rexton whispered. "And it's hunting us." The wolves bristled again, growls deep and low. They shifted slightly, moving between Leora and the approaching predator. Rexton noticed something unusual. Their eyes, usually fierce and glowing, had a strange softness when they looked at Leora, almost as if they recognized something inside her. The glowing circle under Leora's feet pulsed once more. She did not understand it, but she felt safer, as if the forest itself was protecting her. The wolves stepped back slightly, letting the light grow stronger around her. Rexton realized something. The wolves were not attacking the human child because the child had activated the ancient structure. They were recognizing her energy. Something about her presence, her life, was connected to the forest. They were guardians of something much older than themselves, and they had decided she must be protected. The Night Reaper hissed and stepped closer, testing the wolves' defense. One massive wolf, its silver fur glowing in the dim light, growled and bared sharp teeth. It lunged forward, but the predator was too fast. It dodged, moving like smoke through the forest. Rexton felt fear tighten his chest, but he did not show it. He picked up a piece of alien debris from the ground, a small metallic rod that hummed with energy when he touched it. He didn't know exactly how it worked, but if the wolves in the forest had decided to protect Leora, he could help. He held it tight, ready to act. The wolves circled closer to Leora, growling in warning. Rexton noticed the way they communicated without words. Tail movements, ear twitches, even small changes in their glowing eyes. They were intelligent. They knew she was not a threat. They knew the Night Reaper was. Leora whispered, "Why are they protecting me?" Rexton knelt beside her, trying to keep calm. "I think they know something about you. They recognize your energy. I don't fully understand it yet, but they see you as safe. You're not just a child, they see you as someone important." The Night Reaper made another sharp movement, slicing past a tree in the shadow. The wolves all tensed, ready to strike. But they did not attack directly. Instead, they formed a barrier, a living wall between Leora and the creature. Their tails glowed brighter, almost like shields of light. Rexton's scanner beeped wildly. The energy around Leora's feet was growing stronger, spreading faint pulses toward the edges of the clearing. It was clear now, the child was linked to the ancient structure beneath her. The wolves recognized it instinctively. That was why they were protecting her. The Night Reaper hissed again and lunged at the clearing. The wolves leaped in unison, blocking its path. Their claws cut the air and silver fur glowed as they spun and dodged. But the predator was fast, dodging every attack. It was clear that without some extra help, they could not hold it for long. Rexton gritted his teeth. He had to act. He stepped forward, holding the humming rod in front of him. He aimed at the forest floor, trying to connect the energy of the structure with the wolves' defensive instincts. The rod glowed in his hand, feeding on the energy pulses from the ground. The Night Reaper froze for a moment, sensing the sudden surge of power. The wolves growled and barked in unison, and the white light under Leora flared higher than ever before. She could feel the warmth spreading from the stones, wrapping around her like a shield. The wolves' leader, a massive silver wolf with glowing stripes called Stormfang, stepped forward. Its eyes locked with Rexton's, almost asking for help. Rexton nodded, understanding. Together they could drive the predator away. The Night Reaper hissed and circled once, then darted back into the forest shadows. It was not gone, but it was cautious now. The wolves stayed alert, but their posture relaxed slightly. Leora looked at the wolves in awe, finally understanding what they were doing. "They were protecting me from that thing," she whispered. Rexton nodded. "Yes. They saw the danger before I did. And they knew you were the key to something ancient and powerful." The white light under Leora's feet dimmed slightly but did not disappear. The wolves lowered their tails but did not leave. Stormfang approached her slowly, bowing its head in respect. Leora reached out her small hand and for the first time, a wolf allowed her to touch it. Its fur was soft, warm, and alive with faint energy. Rexton felt a chill. He realized that the wolves were not just animals, they were guardians. Protectors of the ancient forest and now protectors of the girl. They recognized her for what she was, even if he did not fully understand it yet. The forest around them was quiet again, but the tension remained. The Night Reaper had not left for good. More dangers could come. But now Rexton understood one important thing. The wolves were allies, not enemies. And the girl, Leora, was not just a victim. She was the reason the ancient forest had awakened, and she was the key to whatever came next. Stormfang growled softly, moving closer to Rexton as if inviting him to join them. Rexton knelt beside Leora and whispered, "We have to stick together. They'll protect you, but we need to understand this energy and fast. The danger is still out there." Leora nodded. She held Rexton's hand tightly and looked at the wolves. For the first time since she was kidnapped, she felt hope. The wolves' hidden reason had become clear. They were not killers. They were guardians, and now she was their charge. The forest hummed beneath her feet once more, as if approving the alliance. And Rexton knew that the Real journey had just begun. The wolves' hidden reason was no longer a mystery. They were protectors. And together humans and wolves would face whatever came next. The forest trembled as the Night Reaper circled closer, its red eyes cutting through the dim light of the alien trees. Rexton Vale held the humming rod tightly, feeling the energy of the ancient forest pulse beneath his feet. Leora stood beside him, small and scared, but the glowing circle around her radiated warmth and protection. The wolves shifted around them, tails glowing and claws scraping the mossy ground, forming a living barrier against the approaching predator. Stormfang, the leader of the wolves, growled low in his throat. The other wolves bristled, teeth flashing, ready to attack at the slightest movement. The Night Reaper hissed and darted forward with impossible speed, slashing the air with razor-sharp claws. One wolf leaped to block it, spinning in midair. The creature dodged, twisting through the trees almost like smoke. Rexton knew they could not defeat it with force alone. He looked at the glowing lines on the ground and the symbols under Leora's feet. She was the key. He whispered to her, "Leora, you have to help me. Focus on the light." Leora's hands shook. I don't know how." "Just feel it," Rexton said. "It's part of you now." The Night Reaper lunged again, claws swinging. One wolf yelped as it barely avoided a strike. The predator hissed, circling, waiting for another chance. Leora closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and focused on the pulsing light under her feet. Slowly, the white glow expanded, rising like a dome over her and the wolves. The trees reflected the light, bathing the clearing in a soft, protective glow. Rexton lifted his rod and connected it to the energy in the ground. Sparks of light ran along its surface, feeding off the pulsing dome around Leora. He aimed at the Night Reaper, and a faint barrier formed in front of it, slowing its movements. The creature hissed angrily and struck at the invisible shield, claws scraping, sparks flying. The wolves saw the predator struggling and attacked together. They moved with precision, coordinated as if they had trained for this moment. Stormfang led the charge, dodging the Night Reaper's attacks and striking with sharp claws. Other wolves flanked it from both sides. The glowing tails of the wolves sliced the air like blades, forcing the predator to retreat step by step. Leora opened her eyes. She felt the energy from the ground flow through her hands. Tiny pulses shot outward, touching the wolves and reinforcing their strength. Each pulse made the wolves move faster, strike sharper, and dodge quicker. She realized she was controlling the energy without thinking, guided by the forest and the ancient symbols. Rexton watched in awe. "Keep going, Leora. Don't stop." The Night Reaper hissed again and tried to retreat, but the dome of light prevented it. Sparks flew as its claws hit the barrier. The wolves closed in, teeth and claws ready. Stormfang leaped high, landing directly in front of the creature, tail glowing like a blade. The predator lunged, but Leora raised her hands instinctively. A wave of energy shot from the ground, striking the Night Reaper and sending it tumbling back into the shadows. The wolves continued to guard the dome, circling, ready for another attack. Rexton adjusted the rod, amplifying the energy from Leora's pulse. The glowing dome expanded, surrounding the whole clearing. The Night Reaper could no longer enter. Its hissing grew frantic as it retreated into the darkness, forced to wait for another opportunity. Leora sank to her knees, exhausted. The light dimmed slightly, but it stayed strong enough to protect them. The wolves gathered around her, nuzzling and brushing against her with caution and trust. Stormfang lowered his head, eyes soft and glowing faintly. Leora reached out, gently touching his fur, feeling the warmth of the wolf and the pulse of the forest at the same time. Rexton walked over to her and knelt down. "You did it," he said, voice trembling. "You helped save us all." Leora smiled weakly. I didn't know I could do it." Rexton shook his head. "You didn't just do it. You were born to do it. That's why the wolves protected you. That's why the forest woke up for you. You're special." Stormfang growled softly, almost approvingly. The other wolves circled the clearing, ears alert, tails still glowing faintly. They knew the Night Reaper might return, but for now the danger had passed. The forest itself seemed calmer, the pulsing light softening but not disappearing. Rexton examined the symbols on the stone beneath Leora's feet. They were ancient, alien, and alive. "This place, it's like a guardian system," he whispered. "It reacts to you, protects you. And now, we know why the wolves were here." Leora looked around at the massive wolves. "They weren't going to hurt me," she said softly. "They wanted to save me." Rexton nodded. "Exactly. And now we are allies. Wolves, humans, and the forest. Together we can survive what's coming." The Night Reaper's hiss echoed faintly from the shadows. It had not left the forest. But Rexton felt a strange confidence. They had survived the first attack. Leora's energy, the wolves' strength, and the forest's power had combined in a way that even the Night Reaper could not overcome. Stormfang stepped closer to Rexton and Leora. He lowered his glowing tail and brushed his head against Leora's leg. She laughed softly, touching the silver fur. The other wolves formed a protective circle around them again, as if saying, "We are with you. No harm will come to you while we stand here." Rexton stood and surveyed the clearing. Broken branches, glowing sparks from the energy pulses, and faint scorch marks from the Night Reaper's claws marked the battlefield. The forest had fought with them, and the wolves had proven their loyalty. He realized that Leora was no longer just a frightened girl. She was a part of something much bigger. He turned to her. "We need to understand this energy," he said. "It saved us and it can save many more. But we have to be careful. The Night Reaper will come back and there may be others. Leora nodded, feeling stronger than before. I'll try. I can feel it now. Rexton smiled. Good. That's all we need for now. The forest pulsed softly around them, the glowing light wrapping the wolves and the humans together. For the first time since she was kidnapped, Leora felt safe. She was not alone. The wolves were her guardians, Rexton was her protector, and the forest had awakened to keep her alive. Stormfang lifted his head, ears alert, and let out a low, steady howl. The other wolves joined, echoing through the alien trees. The sound was both warning and celebration, a message that the wolves and humans were now allies. Rexton looked at Leora. We survived this battle, he said. But the war for this forest and maybe more is just beginning. We need to be ready. Leora looked at the glowing dome of light, the massive silver wolves and the strange symbols on the ground. She nodded slowly. I'm ready, she said. And for the first time Rexton felt hope. Together, the humans and wolves had faced a deadly predator and survived. The forest had chosen its guardians and now they were a team ready to face anything that came next. The battle in the ruins was over, for now, but the forest hummed, alive and waiting as if it had more tests in store. The Night Reaper had retreated, but Rexton knew it would return. When it did, they would be ready. Leora, the wolves, and the forest had formed a bond stronger than fear, stronger than the predator outside. And that bond would be the key to survival. The forest was quiet now. The Night Reaper had retreated into the shadows, and the glowing dome around Leora had dimmed to a soft, steady light. The wolves circled the clearing, alert but calm. Stormfang, the leader, stood close to Leora, his silver fur shining faintly under the alien trees. Rexton Vale looked at the girl and the wolves, feeling a mix of relief and wonder. The battle was over, but something had changed. The wolves were no longer just guardians, they had chosen her. Leora knelt on the mossy ground, touching the glowing symbols beneath her hands. She could feel the energy pulsing softly, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. It had calmed after the fight, but it still hummed with life. She looked up at Stormfang. The wolf lowered his massive head, almost bowing to her. Leora smiled softly. Thank you, she whispered. Rexton knelt beside her. It's not just them, he said. The forest, it responded to you. It trusts you now just like the wolves do. Leora's eyes widened. I did this. You did, Rexton said. The energy, the forest, the wolves, they all reacted to you. You have a connection we don't fully understand. But now we know it works in our favor. The other wolves gathered closer, forming a circle around the girl and Rexton. Their tails glowed faintly, and they nudged her gently with their heads, showing affection and trust. Leora laughed softly, feeling safe for the first time in days. She reached out, touching the soft fur of one wolf, and felt warmth and power flow from the animal into her hands. Stormfang stepped forward and placed one massive paw in front of her. Leora hesitated for a moment, then placed her small hand on it. A pulse of energy ran from the paw through her arm. The wolf's eyes met hers, and she felt a silent understanding. They were allies now. They would protect each other. Rexton smiled. This is more than protection. The wolves have accepted you. They're part of your team and you're part of theirs. Leora looked around at the other wolves, feeling a sense of family she had never known. Even the smaller wolves nuzzled her gently, brushing their heads against her knees. She felt tears in her eyes, but they were tears of relief and happiness. Rexton stood and looked at the forest. The trees still glowed faintly with the soft energy, and the moss under their feet pulsed slowly. We need to understand this forest, he said. It's alive in ways we can't fully explain. But it has chosen us as allies, humans and wolves together. We have to protect it. The sound of the Night Reaper echoed faintly in the distance. The creature had not left completely, and Rexton knew it could return. But now he felt confident. They had survived together, and the wolves would fight alongside them. Leora's energy had awakened the forest's power, and together, they were stronger than the predator outside. Leora stood slowly, brushing her hands against her clothes. She looked at Stormfang, then at the other wolves. We have to stick together, right? She asked. Stormfang growled softly, nodding his massive head. The other wolves barked softly, echoing his message. Leora's eyes shone with understanding. Yes, she said. We're a team. Rexton placed a hand on her shoulder. A new pact, he said. Humans, wolves, and the forest. We watch over each other. We protect each other. And we fight together if danger comes again. The wolves circled them, tails flicking, ears twitching, showing readiness and loyalty. Stormfang let out a low howl, and the other wolves joined in a chorus that echoed through the trees. The sound was deep, powerful, and full of meaning. It was a declaration, a promise that they were now united. Leora smiled and lifted her hands, feeling the pulse of the forest beneath her. She could feel the energy flowing into the wolves, into Rexton, into herself. The forest seemed to hum louder in response, as if approving the new bond. It was alive, aware, and ready to protect those it had chosen. Rexton knelt beside her again. "This energy, it can do more than protect us," he said. "It can help us understand the forest, defend it, and maybe even reach places we never thought possible. But we have to learn how to use it wisely." Leora nodded. "I want to learn. I want to help." Stormfang stepped closer and nudged her gently. Leora laughed, reaching out to stroke his fur. The other wolves moved around her, forming a protective circle, their tails glowing softly. For the first time since she was kidnapped, she felt safe, strong, and connected to something greater than herself. Rexton looked at the forest again. "The Night Reaper may return and there may be other dangers out there. But we won't face them alone. The wolves and the forest will stand with us. And now we have a reason to fight, not just to survive but to protect this place." Leora took a deep breath. "I promise. I'll protect it too." Stormfang growled softly, approving her words. The forest seemed to pulse in agreement, light spreading gently along the trees and moss. The energy around Leora's feet shimmered, steady and calm, as if recognizing her promise. Rexton smiled. "A new era begins," he said. "We are no longer just humans and animals. We are a team. We are guardians. And together we can face anything." The wolves howled again and the sound echoed through the alien trees. Leora laughed, feeling joy and hope filling her chest. She looked at Stormfang and the other wolves. "We're a family now," she said. Rexton nodded. "Yes, we are." The forest was quiet again, but the energy remained. The glowing symbols beneath Leora's feet and the faint light in the trees told them that the bond had been sealed. Humans and wolves, guided by the forest, were now united. The Night Reaper might return, but they were ready. Leora reached out her hand to Stormfang. The wolf placed his massive paw in hers, and she felt a surge of warmth and strength. The other wolves moved closer, brushing against her and Rexton. They were no longer just guardians, they were allies, partners, and friends. Rexton looked at the horizon where the trees met the sky. "We will protect this forest. We will protect each other. And one day, others will come to see the power of this bond. Humans and wolves together can change the future." Leora smiled, standing tall beside him. "Then let's make sure we're ready," she said. Stormfang howled once more, long and deep, a sound full of promise and loyalty. The other wolves joined in, echoing through the forest. The alien trees shimmered with soft light, and the moss glowed faintly beneath their feet. The forest itself seemed alive with hope. For the first time, Leora felt she was no longer a scared child lost in a dangerous world. She was a guardian, a part of something greater, a symbol of unity between humans, wolves, and the forest. And together they would face the future. Together they would protect what was theirs. Together they had formed a new pact. The forest hummed in response, steady and strong, as if promising to watch over them forever. Humans, wolves, and the living forest were united, ready to face anything the galaxy could send their way. The Night Reaper and other dangers could wait. For now the bond was complete, and the new era of guardianship had begun.